Imagine asking over 177,000 people to sign a petition that could literally break up Canada. Now imagine meeting with U.S. officials 3 times to discuss it. Welcome to March 2026, where Alberta separatism just went from fringe idea to actual provincial drama, and premiers are publicly calling each other out about it. So here's the situation. The Alberta Prosperity Project has been busy collecting signatures with one very specific goal: force a referendum asking Albertans if they want to separate from Canada. Not just complain about Ottawa. Not just threaten to leave. Actually leave. And according to the Financial Times, leaders from this group met with U.S. State Department officials 3 times since last April. 3 times. That's not accidentally bumping into someone at a conference. That's intentional conversation. Doug Ford, Ontario's premier, is not having it. During meetings with Prime Minister Mark Carney and other provincial leaders in Ottawa last month, Ford went straight at Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. His message? Stand up and denounce this. His exact words were basically, either you're with Canada or you're not with Canada. No middle ground. No polite political dance. Just pick a side. Now, a senior U.S. State Department official tried to downplay the whole thing, saying they regularly meet with civil society types and that no commitments were made. Just routine meetings. Totally normal to casually discuss breaking up your neighboring country over coffee. Nothing to see here. But British Columbia Premier David Eby wasn't buying the casual explanation. He used a word that hasn't been thrown around Canadian politics in a while: treason. He said going to a foreign country to ask for help breaking up Canada fits that old-fashioned definition perfectly. That's a pretty serious accusation, and Eby didn't seem to be joking around. Ford stopped short of using the treason word, but he still called the reported meetings unacceptable and unethical. His point was clear: we're one country, and going behind the federal government's back or the province's back to negotiate with the U.S. is not how this works. He also mentioned that everyone knows where President Donald Trump stands on Canada. Trump's made it pretty obvious he'd be interested in acquiring Canadian territory, and Ford's position is simple. That's not happening, and Canada will use every tool available to prevent it. Here's where it gets interesting. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent recently called Alberta a natural partner, specifically pointing to Alberta's resources and the desire to build a new pipeline to the West Coast. So while State Department officials are saying their meetings were routine, other U.S. officials are publicly highlighting why Alberta would be valuable. The optics aren't great. Meanwhile, separatists held a rally in Calgary at an event hosted by the Alberta Prosperity Project and Stay Free Alberta. They're asking people to agree that Alberta should cease being part of Canada to become an independent state. According to organizers, they've collected thousands of signatures already, but they need over 177,000 to trigger a referendum this fall. That's a lot of signatures, but they're apparently serious about getting there. Jeffrey Rath, a lawyer for the Alberta Prosperity Project, laid out some bold promises. If Alberta separates, he says income and carbon taxes would be eliminated. That's a pretty attractive pitch for anyone tired of tax season. But here's the kicker. He dismissed the idea that Alberta would become the 51st U.S. state. His argument? Why would we work this hard to leave Canada and the Canada Revenue Agency just to put ourselves under U.S. Treasury jurisdiction? Fair point, actually. So where does Danielle Smith stand in all this? She addressed it on her radio show last Saturday, saying she wants Alberta to have a new relationship with Ottawa. She pointed to her first bill, Alberta Sovereignty within a United Canada, as proof of her position. She's walking a pretty careful line here, acknowledging frustrations with the federal government while not explicitly endorsing separation. It's the political equivalent of saying, I'm not saying I'm leaving, but I'm definitely not happy. The big question now is whether this separatist push gains real momentum or fizzles out like similar movements in the past. Alberta's had separatist conversations before, but meeting with U.S. officials and collecting thousands of signatures adds a new level of seriousness to the whole thing. What do you think? Is this a legitimate movement that could actually lead to a referendum, or just noise that'll fade away? And should Smith be more vocal in opposing it, or is her current approach the right balance? Drop your thoughts below because this is developing fast. If you want to stay on top of every twist and turn in Canadian politics, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're covering this story and everything else happening across the country multiple times a day here at Canadian Breakdown. Catch you in the next one.